Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy. I am a mum of 2 boys and really happen to love books. So if you'd like to see some cute bookish content on my little cozy corner of the internet, then please consider subscribing. It would be amazing to have you here. Guys, I'm so happy to be back. I'm so sorry I took such a long break. Honestly, it's just been a whirlwind. I've been preparing for going back to work. I've been preparing my smallest child for nursery, which he's at today. Today was his first day of nursery and my mum heart wasn't ready for it. I haven't had any phone calls, so I think he's doing okay. So I have my little autumn pumpkin cup, glass cup, whatever, with my vanilla iced latte in, and I have a big stack of books. We're going to talk about my autumn / fall TBR today, and it's hefty. You'll probably notice that 1, I got a new bookshelf. 2, it's still probably not enough space for all the books I'm going to get in the future. It's got enough space for now though, so that's the main thing. But the majority of the books that were on this bookshelf have been taken off for my fall TBR. So I'm going to count how many books are in this pile and then we will go through them. We have 29 books in this pile. Some of them are series, some of them are the first book in a series, some of them are standalones. It's going to be a lot, you guys, and I don't know if I'm going to read all of these during the autumn season. We will see. It'll probably be carried on into a winter TBR as well, but hey ho, I need to catch up on a lot of reading because I have been in the biggest reading slump. So hopefully this massive pile of books will maybe motivate me to read a bit more. So without further ado, grab yourself a cozy drink, hot or cold, get in a cozy blanket and let's go through my autumn TBR. Where do I even begin? Do I just go from the top of the pile? Or do I just do them in a random order? I don't know. Let's start down here. So I am just going to go in a random order. So the first book is The Hunting Moon by Susan Dennard. This is the second book in the Luminary series, and the third book is coming out end of October, start of November, I think. I think it might be like mid-October. And that is called The Whispering Night. So this is The Hunting Moon. This is a direct continuation from book 1. So it says, Winnie Wednesday has passed the Deadly Hunter trials. Her family has been welcomed back into the Luminaries, and overnight she has become a local celebrity. Unfortunately, it all feels wrong. Nobody will believe her about the new nightmare called the Whisperer that's killing hunters each night. Everyone blames the werewolf, even though Winnie is certain the wolf is innocent. My voice just cracked. Time for more coffee. On top of that, her dad's convoluted clues about the Dianas and what happened in Hemlock Falls 4 years ago are leaving her with more questions than answers. There is still only one person who can help her, Jay Friday, the boy with plenty of problems of his own. As bodies and secrets pile up around town, Winnie finds herself questioning what it means to be a true Wednesday and a true Luminary, and also where her fierce-hearted loyalties might ultimately have to lie. So this is a direct continuation of the events of book 1. There is trials, there is kind of friends to lovers, enemies to friends, and then friends to lovers almost. They have a crush on one another, so Winnie and Jay have a crush on each other, but they're kind of like being awkward and secretive about it. But yeah, I am very excited to read this, but I'm debating whether to wait until the third book is out. So I may include The Whispering Night on this TBR as well, because I am probably going to pre-order that, and I might just read them one after the other. I may even reread the Luminaries, but we'll see if I get around to it. Next on my TBR is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I have not read this, but I have seen it everywhere. Literally everywhere. Everywhere I look, this is on someone's recommendation list or someone's TBR. And I just think I need to get around to reading it. And I also have Reckless down here as well, but I'm not going to include that because I obviously haven't read this one first. There is 2, I believe, yeah, 2 series in here where I have all the books that have been released in my TBR because I'm so excited. This one I'm willing to put on the back burner. It's not exciting me that much, but I do want to give it a try. I think it's very similar in that there are trials and enemies to lovers and things like that. So it seems to be a very, very, very popular trope at the minute, the enemies to lovers and the trials combined together. Maybe that's just what people are into at the minute. It probably is what people are into, otherwise authors wouldn't write about it. But yeah, Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I will hopefully get around to reading this. It's pretty hefty for a paperback. Let's see. This is 502 pages, so this is pretty hefty for a paperback, but we'll see if I like it. I hope I do, because it seems very popular and I love this cover so much. Next, 2 books that have already been released. The third one comes out in January. You can probably already guess by the fact that the third one comes out in January. I really want to read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, but the size of these books terrifies me. And I've heard mixed things about Iron Flame. I've heard that Fourth Wing is absolutely fantastic, but I've heard that Iron Flame is a bit meh. Have I read either of them? No. Have I pre-ordered Onyx Storm? Absolutely, because I can't have 2 books and not have the third. So this obviously involves dragons. It's about dragon riders. There is a bit of spice in this as well from what I've heard. But I just love these covers. I don't know how I'm going to feel, because I don't know if you have seen the cover for Onyx Storm, but it is black. So I kind of hope it's metallic, because if it's not metallic, I just don't think it would flow very well with like the bronze and the gold, and we'll just have to see. But this has been on my TBR for so long, so I really, really hope I like it, because the size of these books is staring me in the face. I also have Crescent City up there as well, but I'm not even going to venture. I'm already going to say Crescent City is not on my autumn TBR, because I am mentally and physically preparing myself for reading those bricks of books. So Fourth Wing and Iron Flame will hopefully get me used to reading bigger books, but we shall see. Next, now I have already read this. I got an arc of this through NetGalley and I loved it so much. I got a hardback, and books 2 and 3 are being released this year, and I think they're both being released this year actually. Or one is being released later on this year and one is being released early next year. It is Can't Spell Treason Without T by Rebecca Thorne. This is one of the coziest books I've ever read. It doesn't quite top Legends and Lattes, but it was pretty darn close. So this is about Rhaena and Kianth. Rhaena is basically a guard for the Queen, and Kianth is like this master sorcerer. She's one of the most powerful sorcerers in the realm. And they've decided they've both had enough, and they run off together and open a tea shop in a brand new little town. And this cover, just the autumn colours and the leaves on the side, and the best bit is that the leaves actually carry on onto the hardback, like the naked spine, which I love so much. And then the end page also has leaves on it as well. This does have dragons in it as well. Legends and Lattes doesn't, so that does add like a little extra detail that I really like. But I'm going to try and get around to reading this again so I can read books 2 and 3. Book 2 is A Pirate's Life for Tea, and then book 3 is Tea You at the Altar. So I really hope that they're just as good as this, because this was almost perfection. I'm sorry if the camera angle has changed ever so slightly. I just had to sort something out with my camera so I could keep filming. Let's get into the bigger pile, shall we? So next is, excuse me, next is The Monarchs by Kass Morgan and Danielle Page. This is book 2 in the Raven series. I have already read The Ravens. I can't remember what I rated it, like 4 stars maybe. I did thoroughly enjoy it, and this is a direct continuation, I believe. So this is about kind of like a witchy sorority house. There were some events, some spooky events that happened in the first book, involving the unaliving of someone from this group, and it kind of came back to haunt them in the first book. To safeguard their sisterhood, Scarlet and Vivian must confront the forces of hell itself and thwart a rival sorority set on unleashing chaos. that sounds pretty spooky to me, and the first book was quite spooky. It did have some very atmospheric prose in it, and I did find myself getting quite scared. So hopefully this one's just as good, and I love the colours on this. I was kind of associating this with summer, but the more I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's an autumn book. That is definitely an autumn book. Next, we have our first very spicy one. This is the first in I can never say that word, interconnected standalones. I'm not sure if they're interconnected actually, or they're just from different POVs, and it's just all part of one series. But the series I'm on about is Priest by Simone. These are apparently supposed to be very, very, very spicy. Oh dear, this is very spicy. So as you probably gather from the title, this is about a priest, and he meets a girl, and he doesn't know if he can keep up with his vows that he took into the priesthood. He doesn't know if he can keep up with them. He might end up breaking them. He is a priest, and here is his confession. Sounds pretty good. I don't think it's necessarily like spooky or autumn related. I just kind of liked this cover and thought they looked kind of spooky and dark. We'll see. I might read it, I might not. I might save it for later. Next is the first book in a duology, and it is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I've heard so many good things about this series. I say series, duology. And we follow Alex, and she can talk to ghosts, and she has basically been selected into this college or university, and she has to basically patrol and regulate the secret societies that are going on. And that's all fine and dandy until a person shows up unalived. Oh dear. And I just love this cover. I think it's so spooky. I don't know what it is about snakes. If they're on book covers or jewellery or anything like that, I'm instantly like, give me, I need to read it or I need to have it. I love snakes on things. Have I ever touched a real snake? No. Do they absolutely terrify me? Yes. If they're on a book, will I buy it? Absolutely. But yeah, I've heard lots and lots of good things about this. And I will put Hellbent on this, but I don't know if I'm going to get around to reading both of them during the autumn season, so I'm definitely going to try and read Ninth House at least. Next, this one's very short. I don't think this one will take me very long. I might read this next after what I'm currently reading, which I will mention because it's connected to another book in this TBR. And that is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I recently read Stardust by Neil Gaiman and really liked it. It wasn't my favourite, but I did really like it. And this is even shorter, so I'm hoping that I like this. I've only watched snippets of the movie because I do find it quite harrowing, but we'll see how the book is. So there is something strange about Coraline's new home. It's not the mist or the cat that always seems to be watching her, nor the signs of danger that Miss Spink and Miss Forcible, her new neighbours, read in the tea leaves. It's the other house, the one behind the old door in the drawing room. Another mother and father with black button eyes and papery skin are waiting for Coraline to join them there, and they want her to stay with them forever. She knows that if they venture through that door, she may never come back. Even that's freaky, and I know that this one has illustrations in as well. Miss Spink and Miss Forcible there. They are harrowing. They are terrifying. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if this is classed as a children's book. I really hope it's not, because this is not suitable for children, I don't think. But I love this art style. I did want to include the Graveyard book on this list as well, but I don't have a physical copy of that. And I'm only including books that I have physical copies of. So Coraline, I'll probably read this. This will probably be the book that kicks off my autumn reading journey. So I'm excited to read this now. Next is the first book in another series. I've got so many series to get through, it's actually ridiculous. It is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. Witch and Witch Hunter have to be in folks' proximity. Yes, please. I've heard this compared to, I've heard the Crimson Moth be compared to this, or the Heartless Hunter, depending on where you are in the world. I've heard it's got very similar vibes to this, So I may have to pick up the Crimson Moth, and I know that the second book in the Crimson Moth series comes out. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me, but I've heard that they're very similar. A witch and a witch hunter thrust into holy matrimony, so they actually have to get married. There was only one way such a story could end, a stake and a match. Bound as one to love, honour or burn. That just sounds fab. And again with the snakes. There's something just with me and snakes. I don't know what it is, but this looks absolutely amazing. And I've heard great things about this. So this is definitely going on the fall TBR. At this, I would be dumb not to put this on my autumn fall TBR. The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. It's a classic horror movie, so I'm gonna have to include it in like a Halloween TBR because it's gonna be terrifying. I'm probably not gonna sleep after reading this, but we shall see. So this follows a girl called Reagan who gets possessed, and the family hire out an exorcist to get this demon out of her. I'm scared, guys, if I'm honest. I'm so scared, but I need to put my big girl pants on and read this and get into other horror books because I'm sick of being a wimp, and I feel like books you can immerse yourself in much more than a movie because your mind makes things up in your head and you imagine yourself in these scenarios and you're much more likely to scare yourself. We'll see. I'm definitely not reading this soon because my husband's currently away on a work trip, and right now I'm in the house by myself, and technically will be when the boys go to bed, so I'm not reading this unless my husband is home. Next is another book which is the first in a series, Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver, and this is about a couple who are serial killers and they basically go on their own killing people. Sounds absolutely glorious. Honestly, I love the premise. I do have an interest in serial killers and true crime, but this just sounds a bit silly. I don't know. When a chance encounter sparks an unlikely bond between rival murderers Thorne and Rowan, the two find something elusive, the friendship of a like-minded pitch-black soul. Stalking across the country, the two hunters collide in the annual game of blood and suffering, one that pits them against the most dangerous monsters in the country. I've got no idea how this is going to be good, but I've heard great things, and I know that the sequel is now out, Leather and Lark, and I know that there is a third book, it's Scythe and something. I can't remember. It's got the word Scythe in it. Oh, the sun's decided to come out. But yeah, hopefully I can get around to this because it does look pretty fun. Next is another horror book. This is going to be the first Stephen King book I have ever read, so I thought that I would go with a short one, and it is Carrie. Now, I've watched the movie Carrie, the original one from like the 1970s, 80s, and that terrified me, especially the ending. This is about a girl who gets relentlessly bullied, but she finds that she has telekinesis, and she is just, the amount of, in the movie, the amount of bullying that that poor girl had to go through was just, it makes me angry. She finds out she has telekinesis, and she finds out how she can use that kind of to her advantage, but if you've seen the movie or read the book, you know she gets a dangerous and very unkind prank played on her when she is crowned the prom queen. I don't know how I'm going to feel after reading this, but I'm not going to know it until I read it. So, Carrie by Stephen King. Oh, this one makes me so excited. This one might have to be one of the first after Coraline that I read. One of my friends bought me this. I've been so excited to read it, but I've been saving it for the autumn months. It is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, and I know that the Cinnamon Bun Bookshop has just been released, so I might have to add that to my physical TBR wish list because look at this cover, you guys. It's got a cat on it, the colours, the leaves, the pumpkins, just chef's kiss. I love it so, so much. And this is about a girl whose aunt gifts her the cafe in a small town, and it's basically like a Grumpy Sunshine romance with a farmer called Logan, and it's about them basically falling for each other. Spicy romance. I'm not sure if it's spicy, definitely romance, but I'm usually not big into romance, but this cover gives me Gilmore Girls. I've never watched Gilmore Girls. Me and my best friend Emma are going to do a Gilmore Girls spree, like a marathon at some point, because she has watched it and said it's amazing, so she's going to introduce me to the world of Gilmore Girls. But this does give me Gilmore Girls vibes, so we shall see if I like it. And if I do, I mean, heck, I might even pick up the second book already, even though I haven't read this one. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This has been on my TBR for so long, you guys. So many people have read it. I haven't. So this is about Misery Lark, the only daughter of the most powerful vampire councilman of the Southwest. And a werewolf alpha named Law Morland. And they have to get married, basically. So forced proximity, forced marriage. Between a vampire and an alpha werewolf, I don't know. I've never read any of Ali Hazelwood's stuff. I'm not big into romance, if I'm honest, guys. So, paranormal romance, might give it a go. See if I like it. And see if I like Ali Hazelwood's writing style. We'll have to see. But this is very, very popular, so I'm willing to give it a try. Next up, I've had this book since I was in college. And I read this in college when I was 16, 17. 17. I think I did it in my final year. And it is Perfume by Suskind. This book is freaky, you guys. This is a freaky deaky book. And this is about Jean-Baptiste Grenouille. Listen to me! And he starts unaliving young girls to find the perfect smell. This is a very, very intense book from what I remember, but it has been like 10 years. Oh my god, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years since I've read this book, and I really want to read it again from an adult perspective rather than a teenager perspective, and see how I view this book as an adult rather than a teenager / very young adult. And I love this cover. I think it's very autumn. It's got the skulls, it's got the ribbon that's supposed to look like blood. I love it so much. I'm very excited to read this again. This one is a book that my husband bought for me for my birthday. This just screams autumn to me. It is A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic by J. Penner. Now this is the first book in the Adenshire. This is the first book in the Adenshire series, and this is about a human who gets put into a baking competition. So it's like Great British Bake Off, but fantasy version with elves and everything like that. And this reminds me so much of Legends and Lattes, because on each of the chapters, let me just find a chapter, it's got a picture of like a baked good on it, which is so cute. I love it. In the heart of Adenshire, where elfish enchantments and dwarven delights rule, Arletta Starstone, a human confectionist, works twice as hard perfecting her unique blend of baking and apothecary herbs. So when an orc neighbour secretly enters her creations into the prestigious elven baking battle, Arletta faces a dilemma. Being magicless, her participation in the competition could draw more scowls than smiles, and if Arletta wants to prove her talent and establish her culinary reputation, this human will need more than just her pastry craft to sweeten the odds. So cozy! I'm gonna have so much fun reading this with like a hot chocolate and some snacks with like some candles on, and it's dark outside. I just love the sound of this. Cozy fantasy has been my new favourite for a little bit since I read Legends and Lattes, basically. I've wanted to find more cozy fantasy books, and it's actually been quite hard. I've only found a handful, including this and Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. And one more book which I will mention. But yeah, very excited to read A Fellowship of Fakers and Magic. This one, you guys, I don't know if I'm going to get around to it because there is one thing about this book that bugs me to all heck. It does not have chapters. It is just a continuous story for 308 pages. 308 pages. And there's no chapters in it. There's prose. And there is a line between where a chapter is supposed to begin and end. I don't know if I'm going to get around to this because that just really puts me off, but it is Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. I've heard so many good things about this, so I might just have to put on my big girl pants and deal with it. It says, darkly brooding and sensuously written, a tale of seduction and betrayal, decadence and desire, death and immortality. This is perfect for Halloween and autumn, but I just irritates me about the no chapters thing. I know it's a really picky thing to, you know, complain about with a book, but I don't know what it is. I might try and read this first and then see how I go with it, but I just don't know, you guys. Please let me know if you've read this and if you enjoyed it, because if you have, it might give me a bit more motivation. This one I bought when I was out book shopping with my best friend Emma. I've seen this so many times and I found it in our local Waterstone, so I immediately picked it up. It is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This just screams Stranger Things, don't you think? Like, look at that cover, and I love the fact it's kind of like a VHS tape. Very Stranger Things, very like old school Stephen King It, I think. So high school sophomores Abby and Gretchen have been best friends since 4th grade, but after an evening of skinny dipping goes disastrously wrong, Gretchen begins to act different. She's moody, she's irritable, and bizarre incidents keep happening whenever she's nearby. Abby's investigation leads her to some startling discoveries, and by the time their story reaches its terrifying conclusion, the fate of Abby and Gretchen will be determined by a single question: is their friendship powerful enough to beat the devil? So this has been described like an unholy hybrid of Beaches and The Exorcist. Beaches makes me cry. The film Beaches actually makes me cry. And then The Exorcist is already on my TBR, so I might read The Exorcist first to see what this is like. But I love this, and I like the size of it as well. I love the fact that compared to like a normal paperback, let's get Bride for example, it's pretty hefty compared to like a normal paperback, but I do like that because it sits right here at the end of this bookshelf here. So I'm excited for this one. We're in the home stretch, you guys. We're in the last few books of each pile. The next one I did have a paperback copy of. It's in my on-haul pile because I ended up getting a hardback, and that is Lightlark by Alex Aster. This is very similar with the Trials. It's a bit spicy. We've got romance in there. Every 100 years, the island of Lightlark appears for only 100 days to host a deadly game where the rulers of 6 realms fight to break their curses and win unparalleled power. Each ruler has something to hide. Each curse is uniquely wicked. To break them and save themselves and their realms, one ruler must die. That sounds pretty good, and what I love about this hardback is that the title carries on. I do want to read Nightbane and I can't remember the name of the third book. It's been released at some point. Sky something? Sky Shade. I think it's Sky Shade. Yeah, I love the covers of these. So I'm going to read Lightlark, and if I like this enough, I will then pick up Nightbane and Sky Shade, because I love having the unity of a complete series. I don't know about you guys, but I just love having all the books in a series together rather than just having one by itself. So hopefully I will complete this series. This next one is an absolute classic, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. You have to read this on a Halloween. I've never read this before. I've been so excited to read it. I think I got this for Christmas last year, and I have been saving this for autumn, fall, Halloween. It's a classic, and I love that my husband got me the cloth bound version. And the next book I'm going to show you is also cloth bound, and it is gorgeous. This is about Dr. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. I love this book, but it is quite hefty. Not as hefty as the next book I'm about to show you, but I am very excited to read this, and I think it just looks stunning on a bookshelf. Next is another cloth bound classic. It's hefty. Dracula by Bram Stoker, and just look at this cover, you guys. Look at those bats! It just makes me think of the It's Friggin' Bats vibe. So this is a classic by Bram Stoker. This is just absolutely stunning, and what I love, I've only just noticed. So the font is actually pretty big on this, so it might be quite easy to read, but look, the little chapter heads have bats on. There's just bats everywhere. I love it so much. So, and even the end pages have bats on. Stunning. So I actually read Dracul last year, which is by Bram Stoker's great grandnephew, I believe, which is basically his life events in what seemingly inspired the events of Dracula. So I did kind of read that as like a prequel, and that still haunts me to this day. That was one of the most terrifying books I ever read. So I don't know if any of these books will top that. We shall see, but I'm very excited to read the original Dracula. I put a shirt on and it is boiling hot. In the final stretch, one pile has 3 books in, but it is part of a series. It is a full, complete series. So I'm going to do the rest of the books in the other pile. So the next book is actually going to be a reread because I love this so much. It is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, and I'm actually currently reading Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is kind of like the prequel. It's set 20 years before the events of Legends and Lattes, and we follow an orc called Viv on her many endeavours after she has decided she is done with fighting. That's the events of this book. In Bookshops and Bone Dust, she actually is on a mission with her troop, and she ends up getting stabbed in the leg. So she is basically dumped on this in this small little town until her leg has healed and she can come and find them again. And she starts to help out at a local bookshop while her leg heals. So this one's about a coffee shop. Bookshops and Bone Dust, it's about a bookshop obviously. So super excited to get back into this world. I might reread this as soon as I finish Bookshops and Bone Dust, because I'm only like 70 pages in to Bookshops and Bone Dust, but I am enjoying it so much. I love being back in that world. So I might read Legends and Lattes again once I finish Bookshops and Bone Dust. This one, I will include this in a book haul once I've gathered a few more books, because the last book haul I did, my camera cut short, so I didn't get time to add any more books on, but the Priest series was on that list, so I'm going to do another little book haul I think. And the next book I picked up, which is just absolutely stunning, is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. But I think what I might actually do is I might actually read the original Lady Macbeth and see what I think and see how it compares. But I managed to get the Waterstone special edition, and look at these frayed edges, you guys. I'm just so annoyed because it got rained on when it was in my bag, but I think it kind of adds character. It's got added some like little raindrops on there, and I just love this so much. I think it is a beautiful looking book, but it's very gothic. I just love the colour scheme. I think it's beautiful, so very excited to read this. The lady knows the stories that her eyes induce madness in men. The lady knows she will be wed to the Scottish brute who does not leave his warrior ways behind when he comes to the marriage bed. The lady knows his hostile, suspicious court will be a game of survival requiring all of her wiles and hidden witchcraft to survive. Oh, perfect for Halloween. I think it's going to be absolutely fab. This kind of gives me Now She Is Witch vibes by Kirsty Logan, because that is about revenge on men that have wronged the main character. We'll have to see once we read it. It could be completely different. I don't know. We'll have to see. This book has been on so many people's TBRs. It's actually ridiculous. I've heard mixed things though. I have heard mixed things. But I'm willing to give it a try. It is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I'm tempted to read this first just so I can get used to the writing style of Leigh Bardugo. I don't know. Well, I don't know whether to read Ninth House first and then The Familiar, because I know that this is different from her other books. This has been very heavily historically researched from what I have listened to on BookTube and Bookstagram. So I'm very interested in historical fiction, and this is set in the Golden Age of Spain. So, in a shabby house in the new capital of Madrid, Luisa uses scraps of magic to get through her days of endless toil, but when her scheming mistress discovers her scullion is hiding a talent for little miracles, she demands Luisa use those gifts to win over the royal court. I do believe there is a vampire in this as well, who is described as basically looking like death. Which I'm all for that description, and I just love the cover. It's so gothic. I love it so much. I just wish that in the UK we had the edition that had the black sprayed edges. I think that looks so stunning, but I'm quite excited to read this and hopefully I enjoy it. Last book in the second pile, and then we can go through the books that I'm most excited to read in the fall season. The next one is Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. This is apparently like Vampires meets Peaky Blinders, which I'm just, it's got heists in it, and the main character, she owns a tea house, but by night it turns into a blood house where vampires can quench their thirst, shall we say, for their dispositions, their flaws, shall we say. The streets of White Roaring grew fangs at night when the moon dragged a claw and the shop fronts cut dim and those who craved blood walked bold. Sounds super spooky! I love it so much, and I love this smoky effect on the back of this book. It is stunning. Yeah, this has been on my TBR for quite a while, but I've got so many more books to read, you guys. It's actually kind of overwhelming. So, you guys, we are at the final 3 books. This is a series, and I've talked about this series so many times. Have I read any of the books yet? No, because I am waiting for the prime time. I am waiting so I can have my socks blown off. I will give you 5 seconds to guess which series I'm going to talk about. 2, 1. Da 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 da! Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is gothic, it's got romance, it's got Regency vibes. I am so excited to read this. Now, 2 of these books are very, very special. One, I won this book. I mentioned this when I first bought it in a book haul. That this book is the signed edition, signed by the Queen herself, Adeline Grace. And Foxglove is just the standard hardback, because I'm not sure why, but the editions that are in hardback, they tend to go out of publication once the paperback comes in. So once the paperback comes in, the hardbacks tend to go out of production, and they're really hard to find, which is why I basically peed my pants when I found out I had won the bid for the Belladonna book. So I have the standard edition of Foxglove, and then in my letterbox the other day I got the Waterstones exclusive edition of Wisteria. How gorgeous is this? So I wanted to get the Waterstones edition because the standard edition is pink and this is more of like a bluey purple. And you guys, look at these end pages. Look at them, they are stunning. And then look at the naked hardcover. I want to die at how beautiful this is. And this one is also signed by the Queen herself. I love this so much. this is going to be my biggest priority series for the autumn season. I have been waiting for so long for this series to be complete to read this. I've heard phenomenal things about the Belladonna series, and part of me doesn't want to read it because I know that at some point it will have to end. That's the one thing I hate about reading. Once you are so involved in this world that you're reading about, once you finish the book or finish the series, you have to say goodbye to that. Even if you reread it, there's not as much excitement as reading it for the first time, and that's why I've been kind of putting off reading some of these books, because I think once I get involved in that world, I won't want to come out of it. So, oh, I've got so many books on this TBR, you guys. Very overwhelmed right now, but we'll get through it together. So that was my autumn TBR. Please let me know if you've read any of these books and if they were any good, or if I'm just wasting my time with some of them. But reading is subjective. What I think is great, you might think is awful, and what I think is awful, you might think is the best book on the planet. So, again, let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you have any recommendations for me to read this autumn season. So, I'm going to finish this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!